Hello Leo listeners, Cara here from leolistening.com, where I help adventurous, expats and intrepid travellers understand fast-talking native speakers through movies. So welcome to the next video in this special summer series, Watch Short Movies, Understand Fast Speech. So today's short movie is called Prime Minister's Resignation. Again, it's a movie that I watched with my students in our special lockdown movie club experiment. So this particular short movie is by the comedy duo Midbrow, and it's based on what happened on the 24th of June 2016 when the then UK Prime Minister David Cameron resigned. So in this short film, so it's obviously a comedy film, a parody of what happened, the Prime Minister asks Andrew, his Foreign Secretary, to come and see him and urgently help him fix a problem with the USA. So it's a funny look at both international diplomacy and also instant messaging technology. So the accents are British and in this case, standard Southeast English accents. So maybe a bit easier to understand than in the previous movie. So again, before you watch my walkthrough where I'll explain to you what was hard to catch and the conversational expressions that you can use, go to the description, grab the link to the full movie. Again, it's only a couple of minutes long. Listen to it, watch it yourself, see how much you can catch, get a feel for what it's about, and then come back here and watch my explanation of what you might have missed or what was hard to catch. All right, cool. See you then.
All right, so let's get into understanding Prime Minister's resignation. So,
come in. Prime Minister.
So we can start off right away by, well, I suppose there's a couple of things. So the Prime Minister says, come in, come in. So that's a good example of an expression with a link. So the m sound in come links to the vowel in. And then Andrew, so this is the Prime Minister's Foreign Secretary, comes in and says, he says, Prime Minister, Prime Minister. So what's interesting about this expression is we never say Prime Minister, because that's kind of too many M sounds. So we reduce prime down to Prime Minister. So that's an interesting reduction that's specific to this film. So, right, let's continue listening then to the Prime Minister.
Thanks for coming in at such short notice, Andrew. Take a seat.
All right, so there was quite a lot there. So the Prime Minister says, thanks for coming in at such short notice, Andrew. Take a seat. So I'm pronouncing it a bit more slowly and carefully. When the Prime Minister pronounces it, because he's speaking quite fast, he takes shortcuts and he makes a lot of sounds disappear. So thanks sounds like thants. Coming in at sounds like coming in at. So there's a link there between coming and in, and also the T sound is dropped on at. A similar kind of thing happens in notice. So it sounds like notice. So yeah, thanks for coming in at such short notice, Andrew. And if you come in at short notice, that expression means that you don't have much warning. You don't have much of a warning about the need to come and see someone. Someone contacts you at the last minute to do something. And then we have a nice expression at the end, take a seat, take a seat. So that means sit down. And again, there's a link, there's a reduction. So it's not take a seat, it's take a seat with the T sound dropped on seat. All right, let's skip ahead a little.
States, why? This stays between us, of course.
Okay, so the Prime Minister says, this stays between us, meaning the information that we're going to share is confidential, it's only me and you should know about it and not anybody else outside the room. And because he says it quite fast, it sounds more like this day between us. So there's that link between and us, between us. And, this stays is reduced to this day between us, which I thought was quite interesting. Right.
I WhatsApp Barack and he still hasn't replied.
Okay. So this is the big problem that the Prime Minister brought Andrew in for. So what's interesting here is the Prime Minister is talking about something that happened in the past. I WhatsApped Barack and he still hasn't replied. Because of the B in Barack, because of the following consonant, the ED ending actually disappears. So instead of saying I WhatsApped Barack, it's hard to say, it sounds like he's using a present tense verb, I WhatsApp Barack. It's actually quite common that we don't pronounce these ED endings fully in fast speech, so it can actually be quite hard to tell what tense of verb we're using. So if you were having problems yourself pronouncing those verbs or knowing which tense we're using, don't be surprised. In fast speech, it's actually quite hard to tell. Okay, something else that's interesting in that sentence is the Prime Minister says, I WhatsApp Barack and he still hasn't replied. So instead of saying and he, nice and carefully, which never really happens in fast speech, the Prime Minister drops the H sound on he drops the D sound on and then he links the two together, and he still hasn't replied.
When do you send the message? I sent it yesterday.
Okay, Andrew's question is interesting in terms of fast, relaxed speech. So he says, when do you send the message? So instead of sort of carefully pronouncing when did you send, it's reduced to when did you. And then the D sound is missing on send. When do you send? And that's useful to know how that sounds, because questions can change a lot in fast speech.
At midday.
Okay, let me just go back a little so we can catch the Prime Minister.
The message. I sent it yesterday at midday.
So I sent it yesterday. So instead of saying I sent it, he reduces I to a, which is what very often happens in fast speech. And then the T sounds are dropped both on sent and it. I sent it.
Maybe he's lost his phone. Really? Well, has he even read it? Andrew?
Okay, so there's a couple of interesting things here. I'll actually start with the last bit. So Andrew says, has he even read it? So again, we've got, in fact, there are two dropped H sounds. So he doesn't pronounce the H on has, and he doesn't pronounce it on he either. Has he even read it? And then there's a link at the end, read it. And then maybe he's lost his phone. So it's a bit strange. He pronounces the H on he's, but then he drops the H on his. Lost his phone, and then he makes this link. So I'll just play that part back again.
Yesterday, at midday. Maybe he's lost his phone. Really? Well, has he even read it? Andrew?
So I think that he doesn't drop the H on the maybe he's lost his phone on that H and he, because he's speaking a bit more slowly, and he's thinking about why Barack might not have replied.
I brought you in otherwise, would I? It's got two legs.
All right, that bit is a bit fast and tricky. So the Prime Minister says, I wouldn't have brought you in otherwise. So that's my very slow and careful version. So the Prime Minister is saying, essentially, if Barack had lost his phone or something, if I knew he hadn't read it, you would not be here. So the reduction here of I wouldn't have, it sounds more like I wouldn't have. So again, that the I sound is reduced. And then there's sort of linking wouldn't have, and reductions on have. Afterwards, he says it's got 2 blue ticks, and we lose some sounds here because it's got sounds like it's got, and the 2 blue ticks refers to the fact that when you get a WhatsApp message and you've read it on the other person's interface, they see those 2 blue ticks or check marks that indicate that you have read that message.
Shit. I want to send the official response, not a winky smiley. Why not?
Okay, so apparently so this being a comedy short movie and a parody, the official response is a winky smiley. So that's the emoticon where the little face is winking and smiling. So that's what that refers to.
They were panicking. Oh, shitting Christ! He's online now. Now? Shit! Help! Prime Minister. What do I do? Prime Minister, look at...
Okay, so there was quite a lot of swearing there on the part of the Prime Minister. So he asks, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So that's the fast version with the T missing on what, and then a link between do and I. What do I do? So again, questions can sound quite different in fast speech.
Stay calm, remember your training, okay? We'll send something witty, something insightful. You're the...
Okay, so Andrew suggests we'll send something witty. So will is that kind of reduced version of will. So instead of saying we will, it's reduced to we'll, and then in fast speech it's reduced even further to will. Okay, so something, he proposes that they send something witty and insightful. So if something is witty, it's both clever and funny, and if something is insightful, it's original and clear. Okay.
For God's sake. I'm not a funny man, Prime Minister. You're a hoot, Andrew.
So the Prime Minister wants Andrew to send the message, to send this witty and insightful message. And he says to Andrew, you're a hoot. You're a hoot. So that's an informal expression that means that you're an amusing person, a funny person. So you're the right person to do it. And then there's a nice example of a contraction plus a link at the beginning, because the Prime Minister says, you're a hoot. So not you are a, but you're a.
Now, that's an order. Or I can send something now, otherwise he's going to go. Why don't we going to go? Why don't we send you? No, please.
Okay, so that bit is a bit difficult to catch because everybody's talking over each other. There was an expression that I wanted to go back to. I must have missed it.
Funny man, Prime Minister. You're a hoot, Andrew. Send something now. That's an order. Or I can send something.
Okay. Oh yeah. At one point, the Prime Minister says to Andrew, maybe it's just before.
Something witty, something insightful. You're the Foreign Secretary. Yes. Send something funny, for God's sake. I'm not funny.
Here we go. So the Prime Minister says to Andrew, send something funny, for God's sake. So when you say for God's sake, that's an expression that you use for emphasis when you're annoyed and you're telling somebody to do something. Okay, so let's skip ahead then from after the shouting part, which was kind of hard to understand because they're both talking at the same time.
Andrew.
Oops.
Andrew.
All right, I wanted to catch the Prime Minister's question. Maybe it's just after.
Sir, you're having a lot of pressure there, okay? There's an awful lot of shouting. What did you send?
So again, we've got a question with this assimilation, which makes what did you sound like what did you? What did you?
It's not that bad.
Andrew?
I sent a black Santa.
Okay, so those last two words are pretty clear. And then just before, Andrew says, I sent a, so dropping the T on sent and then linking it to a, which sounds like when we say it fast. I sent a black Santa. So obviously the problem there is that's quite a racist thing to send. So that's why the Prime Minister isn't very happy, and Andrew is upset with himself for cracking under pressure and sending something totally inappropriate. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And if you enjoy this method, make sure you download the mini movie guide, which is a free guide on using your favorite movie or TV show to better understand fast-talking native speakers. You can grab it in the description under this video. All right, thanks and see you soon.